A full stop means something is over. An ellipsis means there's more to the story. Hi, I am your host, Lerato Mugere, and this is the Ellipsis Podcast, where we lean into the lingering stories of the past, present, and future that shape society. I enjoyed recording episode 2 so much, and it's with one of my favorite people in the whole entire world. Her name is Tsoana Nhlapo, otherwise known as Gogo Tsoana Nhlapo, and she is the first person that I got to produce for in radio, but also she's become like a spiritual confidant, right? And we got to record in her surgery, on Dumba, as other people call it, and we basically talk about what freedom looks like and how we can get there spiritually first before it actualizes in the physical. I hope that is cryptic enough to keep you listening. Thank you, Danny, for the music, and our much loved engineer, Ezile Ntia. Let's get into the episode. Oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking, but also so nice. We are in an actual doctor's office.
Yes, actually, we're in a surgery.
We're in a surgery right now. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Ellipsis Podcast. And in this episode, so in the first episode, I started with just asking my parents how time was when they grew up, right? Because I think sometimes we like to politicize lived reality, even though it was political, but sometimes we need to hear just from an experience type of perspective, so that we also pick out to say, hey, man, this was wrong. Yeah. There was life, but also people had made life in the ways that they could, with the barriers that they had. And there's a point where my dad was saying, it was just life that we live here, the whites live there, and when you work, that was just what life was. Nothing surprising about that, nothing hectic. That's just how life was. But if you think about it and you understand why the dynamics were like that. And in this episode, I wanted to explore the past and the future.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Because I don't think that we've really, truly envisioned ourselves outside of oppression. And even when we do, it's still very much in that oppressed context lens, you know? And when we envision our future, it's still very much from a Western lens to say this is what success is. This is what family is. This is even what being a man is, what being a woman is.
True.
You know? And it's like, but is that all there is to life? But to start at a good point, I want you to tell people about you, to introduce yourself, because I know you from experience.
Yes.
I don't know all the titles. And I give a little wrong, so I would like you to introduce yourself to us.
Actually, okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be in episode number 2 after the parents. Listen, I'm important. Me. And this for me becomes the most difficult thing to do, to introduce myself. I'll take you back to when I used to perform, and people want to give you this whole history. She performed on this stage and that stage and that stage. And I feel the most important people are the audience that you have at hand. Where you've been is irrelevant, it's just ego, I feel, So it has always been an issue for me. How do I introduce myself? Because what you get today might not be what the CV says, and you're like, how did you even get that? Because you're not experiencing what the CV says. But in a nutshell, Tsoana Nhlapo, born and raised in Sharpeville. To my mom and my dad, there was 2 siblings, me and my brother, that survived. But there were two siblings before Nna, and the one after, two siblings before my brother and one after me. So the only two of us survived for my mother. Yeah, born and raised in Sharville, and studied there, school, primary. I started at the Sesotho school. My Zulu father was like, heck no. You know. And guys came preschool and sub A, and then went to a Zulu school afterwards. And then after that, then I went to boarding school in Lanseria. It was at the height of apartheid. No, and the apartheid was coming to an end. But around that time, Val was very volatile. It was very volatile, and I think I was an impressionable teenager. And my mother was like, you know, because a close friend of mine decided to go into exile. I was like, at 13, imagine. Country. You know, and so she left, and then I went to boarding school. And
your mom said you thought.
Yeah, no, she literally said like no. And the funny thing is, she was the activist at the time, my mother, you know, and I also think there was no way I was going to escape without her knowing, because most of the kids that left, they went through or her comrades. So I was gonna be found even if it like Free State or you know. But having grown up in that household where you see the videos of Mandela, you know, my mother would have like layers of blankets on the windows because nobody was supposed to see that you're watching Cry Freedom at that time. So there will be quality curtain, volume must be down, because should somebody snitch, then somebody's either gonna disappear, never gonna come back, wara. And I don't know why did she think that was not going to affect me somehow. You know? And then streets then taught me, no, this is what's happening. And then, I wanted to skip the country. Then I went to boarding school, and I think that gave me a different perspective, because townships, it's very hard to make it out of a township. Very hard. My peers, some are dead, some have aged prematurely because of the circumstances there. So this for me was a ticket out of whatever could have been my reality. And after boarding school, I went home. And funny enough, once you go out, then you don't want to go back. It's like, really? Ew, no. It's my choice, because the boarding school was in Lanseria at the time. I didn't want to go back, and I tried everything that I could not to go back. But life took me back there, you know. A lot of things happened. I got married young. My brother, Sharville. So even though we stayed in Joe's Naliana, in an apartment, every Friday he would go home. I was like, why? We are in Johannesburg. Oh, Yovel, why? You know, but he was a totally, he even made sure he doesn't make friends.
Sure.
I'm celebrating Monday to Friday. In the morning, Friday, he doesn't even come home. So I straight west home, you know. Now on the other hand, it's like, I can't do it, because I was an artist at the time. Yovel was the hub of everything. It wasn't what it is today, so a whole lot of people used to stay around there, you know. So if you wanted to be a performer, that was the platform for you to be at. And when I say life pulled me back, my brother, him loving Sharville was his demise, because he eventually got killed there. Shot, and then that put a spin in everything. I was staying in Pretoria, had my life set out to be this way. My mother was planning to exit Sharville to Monana, because she had met a partner that she wanted to share her life with in their old age. And so my brother was going to be the one at Dulangohai. So when he passed, it's like, okay, then what? You know? And when I say life would yank you out of it, even then I was like, I can't high. But they made sure this person that I was married to then loses their job, so there's no reason to to stay go Pretoria. That's when I went back, and that's when I started working Sharpeville actively. I had learned. I used to tell people, how long on a Sharpeville, growing up there, you have no idea what Sharpeville is to the world. It's life, like how your parents said, it's life. And for me, it was life until I came back after matric, and then then they start teaching you, actually, this is what happened. This is, and then that consciousness built on what my mother was doing over the years shaped me into then say, okay, but let's see what we do, Kashaville. Where can I take this thing? And I think that's what pulled me back to go. So as a Mole, then I started working Project Sharpeville from 2008 actively. As a personal choice. Before then, it was okay. What are you doing? Let's do this. But as a personal choice to say, I'm gonna focus and really, really understand what happened in Sharpeville, or what keeps That was in 2008 until
Until now.
Until now.
I think what is also very important is also the spirituality behind it.
Yeah.
So I just want you to just shortly make us understand how you, even though Gogo is your middle name,
yes,
but you became that.
I became a Gogo.
Yes.
Eventually. And this is funny because African spirituality was muted under apartheid to an extent that they made it a law. It's against the law to practice it.
The Witchcraft Act.
The Witchcraft Act. And also there was an office, I forgot which one, but under government that will choose, or if it's a population of Sharpeville with 100,000 people, only 4 sangomas can exist.
I didn't know that.
Yes, only 4 sangomas can exist, and they would give you a certificate to say Luena. So only those were chosen. So that suffocated spirituality across all families, because Bungaka should be present in all families in order for a family's well-being, right? So those that could not make it into the 4, their spirituality got suppressed and suffocated. And it wasn't just by law, Lerado. This was so hectic to a point that if you refuse, they will kill you. So we need to understand. But you did not choose the spirituality that it was forced into them. Even in my family, it wasn't something that we practiced. Look, we remnants of our culture seep through,
there.
right?
Yes.
So certain things that I saw, and you get this grandmother, everything, but it was never put into a
it was not your practice. It was not your lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's just the thing that you do. How
Exactly. So, in my family, my father's family, and it's so crazy that we put so much in. We make them die. Forgetting as well. Like none of that part exists just because this person married it. But you bring, and I'm saying this because my grandfathers decided, we're not going to do culture anymore. Then Nhlapos. We're going to start a church. So there was this church that had this set of rules and but it is centered around the surnames that formed Borena Babona. So Tsoana Nhlapo, Abo Masego, Abo Zondo, Abo Zimu, if I'm not mistaken. But they intermarried. It was almost like a community. They either intermarried into one another, without question. So that's what has been happening over the years. And so I think through time, then Bungaka became bastardized. Like, we don't do that. It's not our thing, And Rahotsa Rona was not Bungaka at all. Until my aunt, this is what I know now. I think there might have been other stories, but my aunt, who's the older siblings, so Kiana and then my father, Alotwasa. That woman suffered. And her spirituality was so intense that she would, if you're going to consult today, she would fill you 3 days before.
Yo.
You know, and as a mutua, somebody, but wherever to this house. That's, that was her. But because it wasn't a thing, and if we've interacted with Nhlapo, so so how would I get into it? That's gonna diminish us. So she was an outcast. Nobody wanted to interact with her. She really suffered through her spirituality, but her gift was something else, right? And I think over the years she got tired, and I got out as a consultant and then continued with her life. Looking at her now, I think it was premature for her. Anyway, so na ke hola and I'm already married also into this new family, but things are not going well, and both I so so I need to make decisions for my own space, and then we decided to go and consult. Every time we consult, but actually I'm like, no, we don't do that. Go high. No, and thinking back to my aunt, I'm like, I'm not going to go through that. Give me Muriana. I want a job. So yeah, that's something. It looks like get them savings. And sure enough, they will do that, and I'll get a job in no time.
Short-lived.
Yeah, very much short-lived. And I continued like that. No, I'm not gonna twasa, and because this healer said to me, "Sonsi ke twasa." I'm not going back to him or her because so I seek another one. I don't find a temporary pill, and that was me. And so we tried a whole lot of things with my husband at the time. Okay, this is what we're doing, and eventually, Badimu, when they want you. And I don't want to make it one-sided because I feel it's a collaboration. I think coming here or so I give it and then I want to abandon everything because what I was celebrity and all of that stuff, So everything fell apart. I was on TV, everything should have escalated, but it was always short-lived. And then my marriage also started falling apart. I was like, okay, something is not right. Then I moved up more Kempton Park after my mom was not well. Then I moved up here. You said this must be short, ne? Sorry. So I moved up here and things were bad. I remember when I went to the consultation in Eleko Kerking Apostol. A friend of mine is like, let's go try, And how Moya will always reveal itself. I went to that church wearing all black. Not intentional, but and the very church have a very black at all. So I show up like sticking out like a sore thumb. Yeah. So things were so bad I couldn't afford consultation. So after the church tonally dingaga that will consult you, I couldn't afford 100 rand a consultation. I didn't have it. And but rakopang, and then it came together. 3 healers all told them the same thing. So to them, I'm a Jesus freak. So guys, like, yeah, I'm like, but I'm not even saying that. I just don't understand this thing. No, so and so. And at that point, I was tired of fighting. It's like, whatever that needs to be done, let it be done. Like, okay, take me. So Litwaso came through a church. But what I hadn't mentioned earlier, my mother, because she was an activist, she was hardly ever at home. So Kyurustuki, a grandmother, an aunt to my father. Kena mutwa di rata, kena mutwa di kereke, all of these things. So I learned so many things that would later become part of my spiritual journey from that woman. So the first thing that made me comfortable with that church is that they were wearing spiga that I saw my grandmother wearing. It's like, okay, I'll give them a chance. And my life changed. I don't want to lie. My life changed for the better. Struggles are still there. Life is life, But I think I'm two ways about it. One, whatever, I wish I'd accepted this earlier. But also, in absence of life experience, I don't think what nikito bangaka ejwa. But now I feel like, Mdum can just give me more years in this because I'm at home. I feel alive when I do this. This is my whole life. So spirituality came that way. And growing up, my father, he's the one that gave me the name Gogo because he couldn't say my grandmother's name. So if you can't say it, you have to either use a different name altogether. Yeah. So if your father-in-law, you can't call him by that name. You have to find another name to call your son.
Oh.
Yes, it's
because you can't
say it. You can't say it. So Gogo came like that. It was because my father could not say Tsoana. Because Tsoana is her grandmother.
Okay.
Yes. So I registered no Gogo, so Tsoana and all of that stuff. So growing up, I hated that name.
Understandable.
Yeah. Wait. So I was using from birth, never used my English name. How I shall feel Tsoana, people who just met me in my afterlife, but when I got to matric, I got tired of it. Just like, you want a black conscious.
Black consciousness.
So what is this? What is this age? And then Tsoana came into to the front.
Yeah.
And then but Gogo was never going to resurface. I remember actually I told my mother I'm gonna scrap this name. My father was already late. I was like, you dare do that. Don't ever. So that's how I left it. But when I got out twice, and then I remember, oh my God, it was like a hand like you Gogo. So this it was a long time coming. It really was a long time coming. But also outside of just the name, me wanta twaka. So whatever my aunt was experiencing is that's why Nhlapo had no right to say we don't do that, because this child is the mix. Yes. And so certain things will seep through and qualities, So my grandma would always tell my aunt, man, what used to do, and in terms of being visionary and all of that stuff. But then again, my mother, so over the years, I tell my mother, hey, they're not about what happened to my aunt. Like, no, you don't gotta do that. To a point out, when I went to Twasa, I didn't even tell her. Fortunately, Twasa's prophet is not as long as Twasa bongaka. So ke khutla se ke qetile re ba now it's the funny thing is only then she tells me, actually my grandmother, the one that raised her,
sure. So it had to go somewhere.
It had to go somewhere. Her mother, who's my grandmother, Yena got paralyzed prematurely because she couldn't move. Bungaka Bonana will find a way.
Will find a way.
So when she passed, she her lower mouth from taking was not functional.
It's such a beautiful segue.
Yeah.
Because there's like an understanding of self.
Yeah.
And then there's the understanding of who you are. And I think those are your journeys that you've had, that you have explained us through. But I wanted to know, because a lot is happening in the world.
Yeah.
From your view as a spiritual person, energetically, as a country, where do you feel we are? what are we seeing? Because I do think that we are trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
Way.
We don't genuinely know who we are. And the things that we do know, we don't want to accept some things because like in Toyo, we don't do that here.
this,
but
yeah.
it's like it's because you were suppressed.
Yeah.
That's what supremacy is.
Yes.
It teaches you that whatever you were,
You are.
it's not so. Whenever you pave a way forward, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because what is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So where would you say we are energetically?
I think we live in interesting times, you know. I think we really do live in interesting times. Like I just said, or my grandmother lost mobility komotong high. That was moya being suppressed. I'm glad I don't have to live in that space. And that's why there's so many people about Tsoana. People was like, no, why let Tsoana go vela? Wara. You know, ra Tsoana because each and every healer, not even healer, I think for lack of a better word, in a family was suppressed. So now that there's this freedom, everybody wants to come out. And when I mean everybody, I mean Mimoya Kaufela, good, bad, whatever. Mimoya Kaufela wants to translate into this sphere because there's an opportunity now. The ground is fertile. I think the solution for the world, and let's start with Africa, will come from here. Solution ya rona as African people and the world, because the West have messed up big time, will come from South Africa. Mainly because of this freedom. When you travel to African countries, first of all, they don't use the African names. We are one country. It's like, oh, South Africa, because they don't use the African names. That's how much colonization went through them. They don't use, if they do cultural things, the colonization was so deep. And it's so crazy because they've been independent for almost 60 years now. You know, so so people will always say that South Africans held on to who they are, despite of what was happening. So that's one part. The other part, centers like it's centuries old, that space, and that's where from the place called Phoenix, where Maburu, the Indians were fighting black people. Go Devon.
Yes.
So Phoenix, Mpumalanga, Zimbabwe, Sudan, right up. It's a line. It's called the Zeptepi line. It's a spiritual line. All of those things, they are lined. Because Zimbabwe, I think it's there's ruins that are there.
Yes.
All of these places have a spiritual energy. So Gonzalo Yolanga, when they created, they started to measure time because time has always existed. We just decided to measure. When they decided to measure time, whoever African people that lived there, they put those stones to mark the seasons. Okay, this is what happens. And we, as a nation, used to observe those cosmic occurrences. That's why how right? As above, so is below. It's because the cosmos affects the world.
Yes.
And vice versa. So all of those calendar moments that happens, the spring equinox, the winter solstice, we used to observe them in certain ways. But because we're detached from that, even the land suffered.
Yeah.
So everything that was yanked out of us made the land to suffer. So it's important for us to remember with the traces of physical things that still exist. But memory is immortal. It expands beyond me, you and me. Some of the things that Kidu Yusan Kondumbing, nobody has ever taught me. No Litwaso has ever taught me. Me o artist is saying, if I can fit like one, she will not recognize what that.
What is this?
Yeah, exactly. You know, we said this, you know, all of those things. Is because memory is embedded in us. And the DNA remembers if you give it an opportunity to. So, And then what the system then did is when they realized, okay, memory will always remember. It's like, okay, let's contaminate the water. Everybody needs to drink water. So that fluoride, you're not able to hear. You get fluoride in your toothpaste. You know, the food that you eat. All of those things made you connect. The first thing that you do, you're on the rubber shoes. You know, blocking. You don't walk on. So we miss communication. We really do miss communication. Most, in an ideal world, Rona as Dingaka should not be having so many people coming to consult. Because messages are in you, but you don't know how to unlock them and to understand them and to, you know, so if you don't do that, then they start manifesting its illnesses. Before it becomes a physical thing. So if none of those things are addressed, then you get physical ailments. So I feel, Hore, having this opportunity as a country, even though the law still stands, witchcraft, we have free will to do certain things. And so it's important that we go back and remember, starting from the food that we eat, the behaviors that we do, and doing melao ya makgowa. When you come to this world, that's why Bungakabaka was a collaboration le badimo. I agreed, I consented to what I am now. When you come to this world, you come complete. We just don't give you a chance to say, instead of Kenya Koskolo, so that Tsoana Nhlapo and become mass production. And that's what kills your soul. We take care of the mind, we take care of the body, but nobody takes care of the spirit. And these things are just avatars. Nobody upgrades the software. The hardware, bonagachina. Ramata, you know. Because the body must board, you know. But nobody takes care of the software. I mean, your phone, every now and again will say new software has been updated. And if you don't update it, you're going to have a problem with your phone because as a whole function optimally. Same thing applies to human beings. Your spirit is your software. But from birth, we don't give you the tools or the opportunity for that software to be able to match the hardware. So you find ourselves lost. You know, we should be able to tell, no, o hlaile ka nako itseng, o hlaile under this family, o hlaile a le tjena, o nna tshwere so, o na kwetse ke ko, this, you are likely to go this way. So how ya lebollong, o also tshwere sekhwama. That's why ngwana ha ikisi lebollong. It's against the rules. You're not supposed to, o iswa ke mang? Somebody turns out rokelle mo. Somebody turns out just o mang, o tswala ke mang, you know. So now mabolla rona se di tshwana le OBE. Everybody must be the same. Little twaso la disangoma. The Kenya uniform, it doesn't work like that. Moya mo too different. That's why family must always be involved. So the people that then takes you to teach you level long. It's not about this skin, the foreskin cutting. That's the last part ya lebollo in a true sense of the word. Monana kubula, those layers that you came with. Okay, ochena all right, this is what we do. Umamela, this is what we do. So this is what you are. You know, somebody was saying hore bungaka se re thwasa ntho iwane kaofela. Re thwasetsa bungaka. Hona le thwaso la batho ba tshwantseng ba etse architect. Where are we going to live?
Oh, yes.
Where are we going to live if nobody, you know, advances that? Because now we have to look, okay, but whenever back then understood that weather conditions need around architect so that heights are my limits. Now our buildings, they are tamaya because metsi ano atama from one side. But people who understood, metsi if afitla continuing around, then it will flow to, you know. And little Rona should not also start. We've moved on. We've advanced. There's technology now.
Evolve.
We really must evolve. But take it along with you because other Batuan is something totally foreign. You know. But we really have to evolve with the times. the problems that we're experiencing, go na le batho ba bang that are supposed to twasa for those in particular, not necessarily the evolution of my spirituality now, personally, I got it as that. So elements of my lineage, kibungaka, of healing people. Yeah, Miriana and all of that stuff. But not personally, the time that I was born in, I'm a custodian of the land, right? And that's why Shaville had to come in, because the fight that was happening in Shaville was over the land. So that's why it fit like this. And now I transcend from Kundumbing to healing the transgressions that happened over the land. You know, so somebody must heal these spaces where the massacre happened. Somebody must heal the lands that are the mines that are being mined unjustly. You know, there's so many things that we need to twasa for, but because is everything uniform. Yeah, and now I have no right as mutu. Kore, you say you come here and badimbare in terms of your growth. Yeah, bungak. Because I think badimba how are the original gobelas, but we have to because I've been here longer. I can't then want to impose
my beliefs, my family
on you. Your diboko tarona. Fortunately, Badimba Rona were so clever. I think they saw this thing coming. And they locked our histories and our cultures. So you have to interrogate that. Okay, so I can't take you there. Because there's a reason why diboko zarona dire le ma ila lehlaka. Baba no, okay, ki marena always associate with the West. So it was at Intosa wana halzatsi le dikela. Other people, you service them halzatsi le chaba. So there's a lot that we have not been explored, but we want to narrow
ourselves. Sure, I love that you're talking about that, because it's something that I've been very obsessed with, and what I'm talking about is self-determination.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, when we were driving here, I was talking to Ezile about passions, and I was like, a person could be passionate about engineering.
Yes.
Passion does not only exist in the creative arts.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
And this has been like a very big thing of mine. And even right now, I think even with this podcast, with envisioning the future, I think my message here is like self-determination. Yes. Because that's a thing that they're trying to take
that they took away
from us. Yes. Even now, you know, to say, this is how a man should be. This is how a woman should be. This is what success is. This is how you should dress.
Yes.
This is
how you should speak.
Yeah. This is what education is. And people don't understand that the more conservative those things that we want to hold on to, the more we drift away from ourselves. Yes. You know? And over and above what you said, I remember when we had our session,
yes.
I said, I know that my thing, it's about history and something.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You know? Yeah. And I think even with this podcast, it's almost like a calling to get all those passions, the history, and also the future. So for me, I wanted to ask, right? Do you think people should get their birth chart?
So an importance of birth chart is to know early, Lerato, you know. It took me 40, you know, when women get into their 40s, that's when you I don't care anymore. But it took me a good 30 years, or let's say 20, because I started to be self-determined at 20, I think, to find who I am. And had I known, you know, without shame and all of those things, I would have gotten here quicker, right? As much as I enjoy what I'm doing as a healer and all of those stuff, my body is not as good as it used to be back in the day. So I was like, oh gosh. You know, I know Mudimu is gonna give me strength to summit that mountain or to go to that river. But in my 20s, I think I would have been a badass healer, you know. So I feel like time was wasted. And so what I try to do for my children is to pay close attention. Okay, you are like this, you are born in this, you know, all of those things. So what we used to do back in the day, even before then, you have to, the conception, when the time when conception happens matters, because that's when the spirit was born. I get. So you take into consideration, okay, if Tem Young one wait over 9 months, meaning she got conceived on this time, and you Moya High is most likely going to be around that. So take me for instance, if you go back 9 months to when I was conceived, my spirit is under May, June. And in an African calendar, Kinako ya Sehmet, which is the Kingaka, a healer of healers, you know. So that's when my spirit formed with the physical to be who I am, right? 9 months later, I get born under the season where we used to celebrate the essence of the land. That also makes a part of my spirituality. But then the opposite of when I was born, it's September, August, September, yes, August, September, right? Which is right? And so that also speaks to Mahodimo. So Earth is the opposite of the skies, of the cosmos. So all of those three make sense to me. Like, oh, okay, now my healing or my spirituality makes sense. So it's important to have that birth chart. Yahor Oto's name. If you are lucky, and I think this is what the new mothers should do, honestly. If you're lucky, first of all, just check what's happening in the skies. How does it look like? It wasn't because they want to, you know, but you come with abundance of rain. So you need to embody that. Yes. If I know yes, but it was the first time that people in South Africa experienced snow. You know, it was never a thing in this part of the world, but because it happened then, so you know, and so in a way you can. I can't really like to make jokes. That is Zimbabweans or COVID, yes, Zondo, COVID, whatever. Because you have to mark the time that this person has been born, so that later on you get to understand, or okay, why is this person behaving in this particular way? Then you add that into your genes, your lineage. Okay, then also like this and that. This and that. So all of those things make up you. And then within all of that, then you have you can self-determine. Or actually, yes, or also, but this is what resonates with me more. You know, this is what, and by knowing and understanding all of that complexity in one person, then we are able to extract a gift. So it doesn't only end at your spiritual work. Everybody's got a nail. But some people even go back. My thing, I don't want to come back to Earth. I really don't. When I go to the other side, I need to be elevated. And this ghetto, I don't want to come back here, you know? So I'm trying to do as much as possible everything that I've set out to do in the short space of time that I've been given. But if you don't get a chance to explore that, then you don't only cheat the world of the solutions that you brought, but you're also cheating yourself. And chances are you're going to have to come back, because that's a spiritual mandate that you need to fulfill. So next thing you know, and the conditions are worse than they are, and then you still have to grow and still remember what your spiritual mandate is, because the body and the mind are just hardwares. The one thing that's supposed to make a change here is that software, that spiritual mandate.
Sure, okay, and this one has to be short because I just thought of it, right? Ntate wa mme waka, before Schoa slips me up. Ntate wa mme waka,
yes,
changed their surname.
Yes.
Inelibke uta family yang komo, and then for some reason he said, "Oh, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be DPS." Okay.
Yes.
He says it was like, no, I didn't want it to be misspelled, but I just found out that Batwa trans guy, and my mom doesn't know his family at all, so I don't know. We don't know those people.
That part of it, yeah.
You know, and then Ntatwaga ke Mogere, he knows them, but he didn't grow up with them. But still, he was very, I think because of the conditions he grew up in, at some point really boarding school.
Yeah.
I think he's very detached from, he knows it from a duty place, like
Yes.
Lerato tlo, ho na le mokete hae.
Yes.
This is your duty.
Yeah.
But there are no ties behind that, and that's why when we were coming and they baboding tsa family le na le bongaka
Yes,
or na le
yes.
bongaka, whatever.
It's foreign.
It's so foreign
Yeah.
to them because they didn't grow up in such spaces.
Yeah.
It's such a foreign concept. And I think it has to do with about birth chart, but also what the family, because the family matters,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So how do we, can knowing your birth chart, it's into you, but can it also heal the family? For example, in the state that family is in,
Yeah.
in this country.
Totally. And I think it's the generations that exist now. So Rona, Yurona, and all of those things, because we can express this freely without judgment. Well, judgment is still going to be there, but without whatever it is that they experienced back then. So knowing, sometimes letwaso la motho does not necessarily mean utlongaka batho ba kantle.
Yes.
Utwasa because you have to heal the past, right? So understanding or lebonkomo and not what DPS without was that kilo changes fun home affairs, that's just dramatic, and I think it's a bit extreme. You know, you don't have to unless there's something that's deep within, but you have to understand the core of where you come from, right? We're okay bonkomo baso, okay, that means hore kina onan. My mother's father never married Mkhonwak. So my mother grew up habo mama high. But habo ntato high kidingaka lebon. Right? And only now these different expressions of how nebangaka kabona presents itself. We tend to make like Badimu, or the other part is on the other side, and we don't get to experience it this side. Once you open yourself up with proper guidance also, because nakungukena all of these things, but once you allow yourself, okay, let this message come through, they speak, you know. I never, like when I say mama ka kwabo kiba kwena ne kiba hampanya, but she never grew up in that space. After having Twasa, because I give out seven, you know, I had this dream, this one particular dream where this crocodile in Tswere, you know, tight enough to feel it, but you know that it's not going to kill you, right? And so you try out, but this crocodile in Tswere, and then no, this now you have to upamise Sidi Musena, because they also have their own ways of healing, their own, and after having acknowledged that, then most of the time.
Oh wow.
Okay, I see why this had to be to come through. So it's important to understand your birth chart also, because then it positions you. Okathola hore nako so senka yona does not necessarily mean or what I did, but you from where you are and understanding where your people come from, there's something that you can do. So how twasa, not who twasa, how ya go, but twasa is like opening up the next layer. I look home.
Is it a kind of maybe not even an initiation, but like a rite of passage?
I don't know if I want to say like a rite of passage is things that gets you to the next phase.
Okay.
Right? From zero. I was actually talking about this the lecture IKS and cannabis, right?
Yes.
Hore matekwane has always been there, but because they bastardized it and took it away, and so reza ka re hai it's forms part of the herbs that anchor you.
Okay.
When you are pregnant, some of the teas that you drink throughout your duration of your pregnancies consist of matekwane.
Yeah.
But they differ because so tlaba in and then something else for the first trimester, something, and until you get these herbs that dilate you before fitla go the labor chair where you struggle so much. But ngwana ha qeta ho hlaha, then re mo inela ka hara ntwenan without rona ga mhlapisa ngwana se ga mkenye detergents ka re o tsoha toting. Whereas this child has got all of these protections that they need. So all you need to do is just let them be for some time, and then after 2-3 days, but especially hygiene, surgical spirit, all of that stuff that strips away the stuff that we need to survive on this earth. So Rona then will put you in a, after maybe we soak you in these herbs, because our system as people has that receptor that receives the components in the weed, right? But we have a system that is designed to receive cannabis into your system and then be able to function optimally. So ngwana o ka se mo tsubisa kere o mo inela ka ra yona ha hola mo fate. So the rites of passage at 7, that protection at linko after 7 years wears off. So the first rites of passage comes there, because now this because you haven't formed to being that human being.
Yes.
Anything can happen. But at 7 years, we are sure, right, this one is here to stay. So we anchor you with different herbs. That rite of passage. Puberty then comes. Lebollo then comes. Then different herbs. So rites of passage is just that making you part of the earth, right? So that you're not floating. But what we were talking about what we were talking before we got to the rites of passage.
Initiation.
Yes, so how everybody brings something to heal a family and to progress family and humanity. Because I think the Western world has taught that this selfishness, I. You're not here for I. You're here for I and I, like Marasta would say.
Yes.
You're here for I and I. So after you've done that for the family, that needs to translate to humanity and the world and the betterness of Ntwena. So understanding all of those things gives you a better way, And also when you receive dreams or messages or visions, because our communications line differs per person. Some people banally that vision there's that sensory hearing that happens to them. So it can't be all uniform. So when you understand your birth chart, when you understand the nature of the people that you come from, so you understand, okay, so you are more rooted into that. Chances are this would come up in your life somewhere, Oh no, Miriana, no fitla fela. Even the Barapedi, we tend to dissociate ourselves from Tabelo as if it came. No. Horapela, it's when you use the power of the tongue. And there are people that are just gifted with the tongue. There's that.
Yes.
And we don't want to recognize that as a form of a healing, because haina difaha, haina di mabosha, and all of those things. So it's important for each and every one of us to understand our birth chart, our genealogy, and that will also give you a focus, or okay, I think this is where I'm going. And becomes easier because then you're not distracted. Because there's a lot of things that you can become. I get a guidance book from go school. No, you become this, without taking into consideration the type of person that you are. And we all make those decisions based on the money that I'm going to get, and you're miserable with that money because you're not living your life's purpose. So when you understand yourself, even with this that you're doing, you'll find a way to monetize it.
Yeah.
That how will be okay. And the king bohlale ba khale will translate and permeate itself into what is it that you're doing today. Yeah.
It's almost as if you're part of the conversation that we were having when we came here.
Ke ngaka, Lerato, ke ngaka.
The way you said it. Ooh, I feel like when I came here, there were set questions.
Yeah.
But also, you know what? I know how
Yeah.
conversations get, and I didn't want to close off of that now. But we're at
Yeah.
the tail end, but I think
Okay.
we've gotten a lot of what I wanted, to be honest.
Okay. What you needed.
What I needed.
Yes, not what you wanted. You got what you
What I
needed.
needed. What I needed.
Yeah.
The Ellipsis podcast
Yeah.
is essentially a space that says there was a beginning. Or we thought certain stories were closed, but really these things just keep unfolding. And I really truly believe that we are still seeking healing, we're still seeking freedom. And contrary to popular belief, guys, I'm like, guys, Mandela did what he came to do, and he did some like,
He really did.
You know, personally, I cannot stand behind he's a sellout.
The sellout.
I can't. Yes, fine, but also he's human, like, you know.
and you know, sort of
It's okay.
Can we? When you're standing there and saying sellout, can you really leave your family for 27 years, Wena? And 27 years was a lenient judgment. These people were facing death. And Mandela was a king, was part of the royal what.
He could have chosen comfort.
Yeah, he really could have. Ndate Situnsa was a healer. 1948, when apartheid, when the war was won, it was a very tight elections. It wasn't looking so good. Verwoerd and this other friend of his was a minister at the time. I forget what came out. They went and consulted with that man.
How about you?
Yes, that's how they won. And Situnsa got privileges for himself. He had cars. He could move wherever he wanted.
Corruption.
It was for himself.
Corruption.
You know, it really was for himself. And Mandela could have chosen that path because maybe he cared for only him. Maybe he didn't care, you know. But he did the most in our oppression with the powers that were entrusted on him to save us. But he chose, no. As long as Nav got a free pass, I don't care. You can do whatever you want. And sure enough, Verwoerd did whatever he wanted. To a point where I feel horror. Even the massacre at Sharpeville was a ritual. A blood ritual. To bind us. To whatever it is that they did. You know. He stayed a lot. I think he had a farm around Duval, Verwoerd. Maburu understands our culture very deeply to a point that they use it against us. So when you look back into how this massacre came together and how the meticulous planning and the detail that they went to do it, it stops being just I hate you and I want to, you know, it was chosen. Those people were chosen and they were going to be killed for whatever reason. So Mandela did what he could given the time that he can. And as you grow older, he went in as a young man. And if I remember myself in my 20s, you couldn't tell me nothing. You know, I think at 13 I wanted to skip the country, for God's sake. Because I had that power. Tell me now if I want to go to exile. I'm like, nah, no, I don't want to do it. So when he went into jail, he went in a different person. And then he would definitely come out a different person. Wakhatala. You really, you know, and doing it for Batho ba bangata. His name will forever be in history for that. But not many people can stand up and do that, right? And so we need to give them their space. And Rona, given this opportunity and this freedom that we have, we're not using it. We're dancing every weekend.
I mean,
You know,
oh, we can do both.
no, we're focusing more on that
True.
than duty.
Yes.
And family duty and national duty. We're failing dismally as a people. And we're living at the time where our spirituality is free. So we can do a whole lot of things that we couldn't do. You know, to change certain things. Some of the things that I don't need protesting. No, I'm done protesting. Like, Lord, let's go fight for what? I'm like, nah. Give me the name of the person and let's see what you know, and a strand of hair or something.
Skipanyana.
Let's see what we can do. I'm not trying to protest for nothing. I don't want to do that because I've been given a different tool. And allow these people who have these tools to but have some sense of national duty yourself.
Yes.
Without the really pointing fingers. You know, they did what they could. They got us the political freedom. The next mandate is the financial freedom. It's the economic freedom. You know, and it's not struggles of South Africa alone. It's a continental struggle. That's why when Traore are rising up and all, because for the longest time, Ahua told us, listen, and you're going to take it and what you're going to do about it. So now is the moment where we say, Liluna Emma, do your thing. You're in your 20s. What are you using your 20s for? You know, you don't have to go to exile, fortunately. You ain't got to go to prison, fortunately. But what is it that you're doing for national duty before pointing a finger at the people who did?
Because that national duty is so important.
Very much
and
so.
We are a nation, we are a generation of complainers, of Twitter fingers.
Yes, keyboard activists.
Keyboard activists without actually doing the work. And it's so fun because now
yeah, okay.
But lastly, I wanted you. Are you an affirmations type person?
I do believe in affirmations.
Yes.
The thing is, you know what I'm finding out, and I think this is going to be the case going for the longest time, that we don't have the vocabulary for certain things, and so we learn them externally, and then I feel like actually this means that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do believe in affirmation in that sense. It's just the certain practices that I don't do this the way that they're done in the internet. You know, everybody's got their own. Do this, you must do that, and whatever. I mean, I follow the cycle of the moon. That on its own says I believe in and this is going to do.
Yes. I'm
doing this at this particular time because I know this is the outcome that I want. And that in itself, it's a manifestation. It's an affirmation to say, okay, I just want to get rid of this and that and that and that and that. You know, and how visual. You know, the tapeleno kusaka
as it is above.
As above. So I want to say it in Sesotho so that we understand how affirmative that is. That's a declaration on its own. We understand that Komahodimong is an ideal. And Mona Nariketa whatever. So Tato is a halangwa. It's a hale Mona. So that on its own is an affirmation. So to answer your question, yes, I do. Maybe it's the actualization that might differ here and there, but I'm a total believer of affirmation and calling things into existence. Yeah.
So I was just gonna ask that, what do you think is the perfect one with the conversation that we've had with going for it? Let's say we're going for it, we're going to be active citizens.
Yeah.
What is the affirmation that we need to keep saying to keep ourselves going, but to also call things into being? Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We've come to the end of such a beautiful conversation, but I hope you took all the nuggets. The biggest nugget that I got from this episode was definitely that I have to get my birth chart read. Like, listen, I am on it. Let me know of your biggest takeaway from this episode on the Ellipsis podcast everywhere. But if you want to follow me personally, follow me at Radical Self Lerato everywhere as well. Because nothing ever truly ends. It just keeps unfolding. See you in episode 3.